Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming. I think it's a clear sign of the interest and support that we always see at this university. Before I jump in, though, I'd like to recognize a couple of people here who are our off-campus partners. And I think with all of our off-campus partners, they make Fayetteville and they make Northwest Arkansas such a great place to live, work, and play. Please help me recognize Steve Clark, the president of the Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce, is here. Welcome, Steve. And also Ross Duvall, president of Heartland Forward. Thank you for your support, Ross, as well. And while I'm at it, I better thank my number one collaborator for being here today, and that's my wife, Sandy Steinmetz, who's over here. She does an awful lot for this university, and I appreciate it, as I know everyone here does as well. Let me start by saying that I feel great about where we are currently and where we're headed as a university, largely thanks to the efforts of all our outstanding faculty and staff. But I hope you agree with me that we should always strive to be better, and there is much more we can do to distinguish ourselves as a great university in what's a country that's full of outstanding universities. Personally, I hope no one is satisfied with where we are at this point in our history. So I'll start today by recapping what went on this past year, and then talk about where I think we are headed as a university, while also addressing a few areas that concern me. Educating students is, of course, our primary mission, and the campus has worked very hard to enhance the success of our students inside and outside of the classroom. And I believe we've made tremendous progress in this area. I think most people are aware that we celebrated the groundbreaking of a new Student Success Center on September 12th. We expect it to be open at the start of the spring semester in 2021. Now, I've talked extensively why this center is needed and the purpose it will serve to advance student success even further. So I'll not get into all of that here today. We do believe the programming inside this building, in partnership with the many great things that are going on across the campus in our academic units, will provide students with the assistance they need to persist in their studies and, more importantly, to complete their degrees. And there are signs that this comprehensive approach is already having a significant effect. Our six-year graduation rate exceeded 66% for the first time ever, and our first-year retention rate exceeded 84% for the first time ever. And we're also predicting another jump in next year's sixth-year graduation rate due to the fact that we already know our five-year graduation rate for the 2014 incoming class is already over 66%. I suspect there are a few students in their sixth year on this campus. I already mentioned that fact that our students are more successful not only as a function of what happens centrally, but rather due to the great efforts that are happening daily across this entire university, and I'll give you some examples. The Walton College revamped its freshman business connection class this year to shift the course from focusing on what resources are in place to make students successful to asking an important question: why are you here, and how can we help you design your Walton? They decided to model this course after Stanford University's Life Design Studio, which focuses on something bigger than success, and that's the concept of fulfillment. The idea to do this came from Fulbright College's Kaylee Simmons, Erica Estes, and Deb Korth, who participated in the Life Design Studio in Palo Alto. They're now trying to identify impactful educational practices and learning opportunities for underserved students. That is, practices and opportunities that can be shared and adapted across the entire campus. The College of Education and Health Professions recently centralized all of their academic advising units to create a better, easier to negotiate experience for their students. And the College of Engineering hired a new full-time academic coach as well as a part-time GA to provide more focus and more individual attention to their students. And the Fay Jones School did many things, like establishing their own Student Success Center in the garden level of the Vol Walker Hall, and also a first-year academic counselor, a counselor who works closely with their senior academic counselor, recruiters, career specialists, and director of student service. A much more integrated approach. And Bumpers College continues to refine and improve their early alert program. In this program, faculty notify the Bumpers College Student Services Office if a student seems to be struggling in class or is having attendance issues. Once notified, their Student Service Office contacts the student to help identify resources available for them to get back on track. I hope everyone here appreciates the great efforts and attention being given across the university in optimizing the success of our students. Further, I hope you can see that the various approaches have something in common. They are focused more on holistic assistance for each individual student. That is, one student at a time. That's the approach we've been talking about for the last few years. I applaud you for your creativity, and more importantly, I applaud you for your results. It's also not a secret that many of our students do not persist here because of financial issues. College is expensive, and financing an education can certainly stress a family's budget. We've made some inroads on this issue as well. This past year, we established an emergency grant fund to help students who are encountering acute financial difficulties due to unforeseen circumstances that they have in their own lives. Evidence suggests this fund has already had a significant impact in getting students through to graduation. We just need to figure out how to scale this program up. I'm also pleased that we were able to commit an additional $5 million to increase need-based scholarships to support students from Arkansas. This money will create more than 1,100 new scholarship awards with an emphasis on addressing unmet need. The new first-year Advantage Scholarship will be awarded to eligible incoming freshmen starting with the fall of this 2020 incoming class that's coming in. Some of these funds will also be used for retention purposes. We'll also use some of this money as matching funds to continue to increase the number of Advanced Arkansas scholarships created by our generous donors. And earlier this year, we announced the creation of the new Arkansas Transfer Achievement Scholarship. This scholarship enables students who graduated from an UA system two-year college with an associate's degree to transfer to our campus and continue to pay the same tuition they paid at their two-year school. Ultimately, this means nearly 90% of all our general scholarship funding is being awarded to Arkansans. I'll say it again. Nearly 90% of all general scholarship funding goes to Arkansans. And I'm saying this just in case anyone feels like tweeting it, posting it on social media, or perhaps including it on some kind of write-up you might be working on. So let me finish this discussion about student success with what I think is perhaps the most important ingredient of all for promoting students' persistence and graduation. And that's the influence that our faculty and our staff have inside and outside the classroom. We're blessed here at the U of A with outstanding faculty who take seriously their fundamental duty as teachers. If we needed any evidence of that, I could simply point to the fact that 84 of our faculty gave up 3 days of their summer to attend a teaching retreat in Eureka Springs. This is dedication. And our faculty always take advantage of the outstanding opportunities created by our Teaching Academy and the Wally Cordes Teaching and Faculty Support Center, opportunities to improve their craft. A week or so ago, I attended the center's awards reception where Chris Shields, a faculty member from the Department of Sociology and Criminology, gave a brief talk on teaching, which is the tradition there at that award ceremony. His message was a simple challenge. As faculty, we should be reaching out to students and not waiting for students to come to us. I couldn't agree more, and further, I know our faculty already excels at this approach. I believe this defines and this distinguishes us as a university. Our faculty care deeply about the success of our students. Let me now speak about another important part of our mission. That's the mission of research, discovery, and creative activity. The first thing I want to point out is that we are, again, making some strides in this area. Again, this year, we will see an increase in our overall research expenditures, and very importantly, in the number of external awards made to the U of A. Our faculty are simply increasingly more successful competing for external fundings. We'll have the official numbers in the very near future. For the third year in a row, we also awarded $1 million from the Chancellor's Collaboration and Innovation Fund for new projects. And as you know, this funding provides seed money for new ideas that could lead to external funding. And we have some evidence that this is working. This year, some of our faculty who received Chancellor's funds in 2017 were successful with federal grants that were based on preliminary work that were funded by those internal awards. And earlier this fall, we announced the creation of the Chancellor's Fund for the Humanities and Performing Arts. As the title indicates, this fund is designed to provide support for collaborative and innovative work in humanities and the performing arts, which may lead to more collaboration and more external funding opportunities in these areas as well. Right now, we have $1 million allocated for this fund over the next 2 years. And I'll also point out the deadline for this year's fund applications is Friday. Another thing we accomplished last year was the identification of 3 very general signature research areas we believe we can excel in through the creation of key clusters inside the areas. The general areas include, number 1, advancing the data revolution. Secondly, improving human health and community vibrancy. And third, innovating for a resilient and a sustainable future. These very general areas need further narrowing and definition as we try to distinguish ourselves as an international leader in key clusters like data science, food and science technology, material science, and biomedical-related research. And to help this effort, we recently announced the selection of 4 Chancellor's Fellows: Jamie Baum, Heather Nachman, Raj Rao, and Brent Williams. These Chancellor Fellows are tasked with developing comprehensive plans for how we might strengthen our presence in 4 specific areas through the development of some centers of excellence. We expect their reports in the very near future. And I'd also like to say a few words about progress on the Research and Commercialization grant we received last fall from the Walton Family Charitable Support Foundation. Thanks to this generous grant, we have made progress in building our infrastructure for research and also for commercialization. First, we were able to create 2 complementary funds to the Chancellor's Collaboration and Innovation Fund I mentioned earlier. A Chancellor's Commercialization Fund, which awarded nearly $500,000 to 14 projects, and a new GAP fund, which awarded a little more than $100,000 to 4 awardees. The takeaway here is between 4 separate funds, there's almost $3 million available this academic year for faculty collaboration projects. We're also able to fill some key positions in research and commercialization that were supported by this grant. This time last year, the 2 biggest had been filled, and that's the Vice Chancellor for Economic Development, Stacy Leeds, and the Chancellor for Research and Innovation, Dan Swee. We've since added a research and sponsored programs grant development specialist, a research development support specialist, an industry relations staff position, and technology ventures associate director, budget officer, and technology manager. All of these hires are designed to help our faculty and our students become more successful at research and at commercialization if that's desired. We have a number of other hires to accomplish this year as well, and are moving aggressively on that front. And we're starting to see some success stories in our efforts to help our faculty have entrepreneurial and commercialization success. This past year, 3 startups licensed university inventions, 2 of which were faculty-led. This seems like a relatively small number, but nonetheless an improvement for us. We do want to be a national leader in generating tech-driven startups. This is a start. In fact, the pipeline for new inventions is strong. We just had a record-breaking year where the number of invention disclosures, which actually starts the ball rolling toward patent filings, is at an all-time high for our institution. As you can see, we went from 93 to 130. That's a 40% increase from the year before. And here's another impressive fact, one I found interesting and very impressive. 47% of our invention disclosures included at least one woman on the team, which places Arkansas in the top 20 states for women inventors, and that number will grow. Before leaving the research topic, I do want to touch on a very important factor that is holding us back as an institution, and that's having adequate research space. Let me state the obvious. The need for new research space is pressing. Simply put, we're out of it, and that fact is limiting our ability to recruit faculty, to secure external funding, to conduct both pure and applied research, and move discovery to market when that is desired and appropriate. So this year, we will begin a planning process for the construction of a dedicated research building, which we project will cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $75 to $80 million. At this point, we can't say for certainty where it will be located, although we have begun those discussions. And we also have had some conversations about who may be in it. We do know we need to move on this if we are to become more competitive as a research university. In parallel with this, over the last year, we also have been looking at the possibility of creating an Institute of Health Science Research and Innovation in partnership with UAMS. The foundation of this partnership includes collaborative research space and labs to facilitate innovative, high-impact research that advances discovery and brings in critical dollars to our region, and perhaps intellectual property appropriate also for further development. I'd like to thank the nearly 100 faculty who provided not only insights, ideas, and dreams for what this space could be, but also a great discussion of joint areas of interest we have with UAMS. Behind me, you'll see some of the research areas positioned for interdisciplinary collaboration in health sciences that resulted from these discussions and other discussions we've had. We think by pooling our talent, expertise, and resources, we can have a much, much bigger impact on the health and well-being of the state, while at the same time elevating the research profile of our university. In summary, while we have a long way to go to be competitive with universities that excel in the areas of research and the commercialization of discovery, I think we're making some progress on these fronts. And of course, none of the progress we have made in our teaching or research, or anything else for that matter at the university, would be possible if it were not for the outstanding faculty we have here at the U of A. There are literally hundreds of great stories that can be told about the accomplishments of our faculty over the past year. I thought I would provide a few examples that I think are representative of the excellence we have here. Within a span of 2 months, poetry professor Jeffrey Davis won a $25,000 creative writing fellowship from the National Endowment for the Arts and a $50,000 Whiting Foundation grant for public engagement. This grant was given in recognition of his collaborative project that's titled On the Row Prison Story Project, which started in 2012 and involves guest artists working with incarcerated men and women in Arkansas to explore the art of storytelling through several art forms. This is a great example of how scholarship and outreach can be mixed. Marlin Blackwell was elected to the National Academy of Design as well as selected as a resident fellow at the American Academy in Rome. These are two of the highest honors that can be given to an architect. We should be proud. Fisher Yu, an associate professor of electrical engineering, and Greg Salomo, a distinguished professor of physics, received a $7.5 million award from the U.S. Department of Defense as part of its multidisciplinary university research initiative. Yu, as principal investigator, and Salomo, as co-principal investigators, will lead a multidisciplinary and multi-institutional team of researchers who will design and fabricate and test infrared detectors made with silicon germanium tin. This project is highly interdisciplinary and highly collaborative. I also want to make sure I recognize the College of Engineering as a whole, the faculty of which have received 10 NSF Early Career Awards over the last 2 years. This is an incredible achievement for our college and demonstrates the strength of our newer faculty who've joined this university recently. Combined with career awards received by faculty in the Fulbright College of Arts and Sciences, the U of A has received 14 of these prestigious grants over the last couple of years. I'd also like to mention that we've continued to make progress in investing in faculty excellence, a priority that we established a couple of years ago. Since 2015, we've added 29 tenure and tenure-track faculty positions, bringing the total up to the university to 804. We've also added 26 non-tenure-track positions, bringing that total to 388. And over the same time, we've made progress on bringing our average faculty salaries as compared to the 18 benchmark schools we commonly use for comparisons. We stack up much better than we did just a few years ago. Our full professor salaries are now at 99% of the benchmark's median salary, and our associate and assistant professors now exceed the 18 benchmarks median at 103.4% and 101.4% respectively. We will continue to work to make progress on our faculty compensation. Attracting and retaining the very best faculty are key to our future success. As I have said many, many times, you cannot have a great university without having great faculty. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention our outstanding staff as well, who work hard to support our faculty and to support our students. We continue to work on ways to elevate our staff salaries as well. We simply must be more competitive with our other employers in the region if we hope to attract and to retain our very best staff. Before continuing, I need to take this opportunity to recognize a couple of people here who have been instrumental in facilitating the work of our faculty and our staff. First, I want to thank Dr. Ro DeBrezzo, who just stepped down as Vice Provost for Faculty Affairs. She's been an absolute dynamo on the job and a tremendous advocate for our faculty since 2014. Ro, thank you for all you have done for the U of A. Ro will be succeeded by Dr. Catherine Sloan, who's going to do a fantastic job as well. And I'd also like to recognize the great work being done by Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor Dr. Jim Coleman. So much of what I have mentioned so far, whether it's student success or faculty success, is attributable to the plans Jim put in place and the wonderful work he and his staff has done. So thank you, Jim, for your efforts as well. The first part of my address looked at what the university has done over the past year or so. I think what's vastly more important is to share with you where I think we are headed. When I think about the future, 3 questions typically come to mind. First, how do we distinguish ourselves from everyone else? That is, what makes us uncommon? And second, how do we get better? And third, how do we accelerate the rate of change for our improvement? I want to use the remainder of this address to look ahead a bit. As many of you know here, our sesquicentennial is fast approaching. 2021 marks our 150th year as a university. By then, our $1.25 billion capital campaign will have been brought to what will undoubtedly be a successful close. This will happen the year before our 150th anniversary. And more importantly, the generosity of our donors will not only continue to become more apparent in the form of new academic programs and faculty positions and world-class facilities, as well as student scholarships. The sesquicentennial provides us a great opportunity to reflect on how far we've come as an institution, from the first students who traveled up the pig trail to Fayetteville by stagecoach, to the integration of the law school by 6 pioneers, and yes, even to Coach Nolan Richardson's unleashing 40 minutes of hell on an unsuspecting basketball world. But more important, it will also be time to give serious thought to where we're headed as an institution. I know one thing for certain: the future will be vastly different from the past, mainly because higher education environment right now is undergoing unprecedented change in just about every area imaginable. I have been at universities for over 35 years and have never seen higher education in more flux than it is right now. For example, an issue that looms large on the horizon is the declining number of high school graduates in the state of Arkansas, and for that matter across the country, after many, many years of what's been steady growth. Numbers are expected to flatten over the next few years before declining sharply after 2025, with some predicting a decline of more than 30% in the number of students attending four-year colleges between 2017 and 2029, right here in the state of Arkansas. It's easy to see that this will have a profound impact on our budgeting. We have lived off additional tuition revenue that has come with steadily increasing student body numbers over the last 10 years. In fact, from 2007 to 2016, we were the fastest growing flagship university in the country, the fastest growing. Financial models that are built on student growth are simply not sustainable, and I'd submit simply not wise. And in fact, this year we saw a decrease in total enrollment for the first time in more than a decade. We're presently at 27,599 students, a decline of little less than 200 students, or just a little under 1%. And we think this is likely the new norm, an enrollment fluctuating somewhere between 27,500 and perhaps 28,000 students, somewhere in that range. Now, the bigger question is, how will we maintain a stable enrollment when the number of Arkansans entering college actually declines? To address this question, we're adopting some strategies that are there to keep our enrollment steady. First, and this might be the most important one, we need to keep making the case of the importance for college so that the percentage of students attending colleges increases, even though the total number of the population of available students declines. And we have that capacity here in the state of Arkansas. We are ranked near the bottom in the country in the percent of students going to college, and perhaps even more importantly, near the bottom in those attaining a college degree. Next, we also want to expand the pipeline that comes in from our two-year colleges. That was part of the thinking that went behind the new Arkansas Transfer Achievement Scholarship that I described earlier. We also are looking at increasing post-baccalaureate and graduate enrollment in the form of certificate programs, which are somewhat new for this institution, as well as professional master's degree programs. We can also expand distance education opportunities for these programs as well as other programs we might design. And this is already happening. Academic colleges and schools added 4 new master's degree programs, master's and bachelor's degree programs, and 6 new graduate certificate programs over the last year alone. And plans are underway to develop another 9 to 12 new online programs for the next year or two. These programs will generate much-needed revenue for our academic units. And increasing our retention rate will also be extremely important. I've said it before, but it bears repeating here. Retaining and graduating students is not only the right thing to do, and it is the right thing to do, and it's good public policy, but it's also good financial stewardship. Consider this. If we retain an additional 50 students, only 50 students a year, they contribute nearly $600,000 in tuition and fees. Retaining 100, which is a 2% gain on our current number, represents a nearly addition of $1.2 million annually. These are dollars that leave with the student when we don't retain that student. We will continue to recruit students from outside the state of Arkansas and at the same time maintain the 50-50 split of in-state and out-of-state students we have successfully recruited and maintained for the last few years. And we'll also have to get more creative about diversifying our revenue stream. We'll have to keep doing things we're already doing, like expanding our federal support, creating more public-private partnerships, and finding efficiencies in this university wherever we can. Perhaps we will have to stop doing things that aren't central to our mission. And at the risk of being booed out of here, I'm going to say that this may mean embracing changes like the adoption of Workday as our ERP system. I know implementing a huge software system like this is a giant headache for everyone on the front lines. And I feel your pain, to quote a famous Arkansan. But in the end, it will integrate and streamline processes while creating substantial cost savings. In fact, Workday licensing will cost approximately $1 million less per year than the current maintenance cost of hardware and software that we spend for BASIS and UA Connect. So while there's short-term pain, it will pay long-term dividends. Finally, it will be incumbent on administrators to practice good fiscal management across the university. And it helps when the market cooperates. This year, we had a positive change of $47 million in our net position, which some people refer to as our cash reserves. And this was due to some interest on investments, on refinancing bonds, and some other changes that we made centrally in how we manage our finances. This is a good cash position to be in, since this money can be used to do renovation work around campus, as well as enable us to borrow a little less for projects like the Student Success Center and a new research building, among many, many other things. Yes, there are going to be some challenges ahead, as there always are, but the sooner we can begin focusing on them, the better we'll be able to negotiate them. In the coming year, I'm hoping we can initiate a campus-wide discussion about some of the obstacles and opportunities that lay ahead. The vice chancellors and the deans and the vice provosts have already begun thinking about the critical questions that will frame our view of the future, what we're calling our 2020 focus. The point of this exercise is not to develop another strategic plan or another set of priorities. We've already done that, and these priorities continue to steer our planning process. The purpose here is to shift our focus to 2020 and beyond, and to reframe our continual planning efforts at every level on that focus, instead of focusing only on the present. Not long ago, we updated our university vision statement to articulate as simply as we can what kind of university we should be. And it reads, "The University of Arkansas represents the best of public education, advancing Arkansas while building a better world." Best of public higher education, advancing Arkansas, building a better world. And I've been thinking a lot over the last year or so what this general statement means to me and how that can be translated into more concrete, actionable terms. So I want to take this time to articulate how I see this vision. To that end, I've listed 10 items I would like to see the university move on in the coming years that I think will help us distinguish us as a university, that is, to separate us, to make us uncommon. First, we shouldn't be satisfied with simply reaching our expected student retention and graduation rates. In fact, we're close. We're within 1% of that. But rather, we should exceed those rates by at least 5%. And this can be accomplished through our continued efforts in enhancing student success. We're on the right course, as I mentioned earlier. Second, we should be the premier resource in the state of Arkansas for delivering timely and relevant education and skills needed by industry and the workforce in both the public and the private sectors here in the state of Arkansas. And this can be done through the creation of innovative academic programs for our students. This includes new and relevant programs at the undergraduate and graduate levels, as well as post-baccalaureate certificates that provide additional needed education in areas that could range from data science to healthcare, law, and many, many, many other areas. Third, we should be the graduate school of choice for students who are seeking to diversify and amplify their educational outcomes by providing graduate students with the background and opportunities to pursue a variety of career paths in addition to traditional academic careers. This will require us to redouble our efforts to strengthen and grow our post-baccalaureate and graduate programs and more aggressively recruit graduate students to our institution that have these goals in mind. Fourth, we should strive to be a top caliber research institution among the very best, one that attracts increased funding not only from the federal side, but also from private industry sources. I believe this can be achieved by stimulating and enhancing radically collaborative research, including increased investments in 3 to 5 focused and targeted areas of research that tap into our existing strengths and provide opportunities to attract new talent to this campus. This perhaps could be done by building strong centers of excellence, some of which I've mentioned earlier, and perhaps an innovation institute as an umbrella organization for this collaboration, innovation, and cross-campus effort. Fifth, we need to generate more success for students and faculty in commercializing their research when that is desired and that is possible. To do this, we must create a campus environment where opportunities are abundant, opportunities are encouraged, and probably most importantly, opportunities are known. And perhaps, important above all of this, this activity simply should be recognized and it should be rewarded. Sixth, we should be a catalyst and significant resource for driving entrepreneurism in the region and in the state through our faculty and our programs. And this is done by aggressively forging stronger partnerships with the private sector whenever and wherever and however we can. Seventh, we should diversify our faculty along every dimension, including previous experience. We can achieve this by looking for opportunities to hire faculty who have a variety of experiences before they arrive at the University of Arkansas, be it in the medical area, in business, in the arts, or in any other practices and experiences that could benefit our students and, more importantly, benefit our research profile. We can and should create positions and ranks that are appropriate for these faculty. 8, we should develop leaders and leadership that amplify and promote inclusion and diversity in our campus community, in the region, and in the state. In other words, making the U of A the premier resource on inclusion and diversity in the state for both the public and the private sectors. 9th, we should stimulate the development of what I want to call new Arkansans. We can do this by attracting and retaining students from outside of the state who then, in partnership with the private sector and along with our Arkansas peers, live, work, and play in Arkansas after they complete their U of A degree. We shouldn't let this talent escape the state. 10th and finally, and I think this is extremely important, we simply must be a more flexible, nimble, quicker, and agile university. Let me repeat that. Flexible, nimble, quicker, and agile. We can accomplish this by refining a variety of university processes and bureaucracy to become much more nimble and responsive to the need of our campus community as well as the rest of the world around us. This includes developing more flexible ways to analyze and capture the impact and the overall contributions our faculty make in the areas of research, teaching, and outreach, by streamlining our curricular and program creation and modification process to shorten time to adoption, and my favorite, decreasing bureaucracy around the university wherever we can. I know this may be a lot to take in today. What I plan to do is to release a series of communications in the coming weeks, which dive more deeply into these 10 areas that I just quickly covered. I will also add that these 10 points continue to reflect, encompass, and develop the guiding priorities we established as a campus a few years back. These are not new priorities, but rather important areas of emphasis for our future as we focus on 2020 and beyond. With that, I'll wind up. I want to thank, first of all, our Board of Trustees and System President Don Bobbitt, who have been great supporters of this institution. I want to thank our executive committee, our deans, and all of our faculty, staff, and students for the work you do on a daily basis to make this a better place. It's my great pleasure to work with you toward a better future for this university and for our state. And I want you to know how grateful Sandy and I are to be here and a part of this exciting time in the University of Arkansas's history, to be here alongside you. You may have heard that at the last meeting of the Board of Trustees, they extended my contract as Chancellor through 2023. And I'm grateful for the chance to lead this great university for an additional 4 years. I do plan to take the next few months to think hard about the structure of the administration, to make sure we are efficient, we're agile, nimble, and effectively serving the needs of the university. In short, I believe we have a bright future and that great things lie ahead. I'll conclude with just a final thought. I came across a striking quote by the late author Charles Bukowski, who said, "If something burns your soul with purpose and desire, it's your duty to be reduced to ashes by it. Any other existence will be another dull book in the library of life." While Bukowski wasn't much of an advocate for work-life balance, I know there are artists and researchers, inventors and scholars all across our campus who arrive to work every single day burning with purpose and a desire for what they do. And they pass that on to our students and their colleagues who burn with a similar purpose and a similar desire. Call it an urge to make a dent in the universe. And I feel it's our duty to do everything in our power to facilitate that, to reduce obstacles, to provide resources and opportunities so that they can burn as bright as possible. If nothing else, I hope I've convinced you today that this is what's happening all across this campus. And I assure you, this university's best days are yet to come. Thank you for coming and listening today.